project like this. I'm a person in a wheelchair, so as you can see, and it's been like a year since I've been on the trail, and I was on it the first time Tuesday, and with one of the bikes, and I felt real good to be able to get out again and to see the wilderness, the trees and the beautiful things, and it was just a beautiful thing to do.
Talk about your story. Have you always been in a wheelchair, or is that something relatively recent? What's your story?
Um, 28 years ago, I got shot in the back, and I was left for dead. I have a son born on the same night. I have a 1-year-old daughter, and pretty much my story. I was walking home, and I was stopped by a car, and two gentlemen was in the car, and they asked, "Did I know a name of a street?" And I said, "No, I didn't." They said, "You don't wish you had known." And I realized a shiny object was coming up out of the car. I realized it was a gun, and I started running, and I heard a shot. I was shot in the back, and that's my story.
Did you know the two men?
I never saw him before, didn't know him.
Did they ever catch you guys?
I don't think so. I seen the police officer, private detective, and private investigator one time, and that was it. I told him the story.
How old were you?
I was 19.
So, I would have, you said you remember a shiny object coming up. Was that the last thing, and then running, was that the last thing you remembered when you woke up in hospital?
No, I was shot. I was left for dead. I was laying on the sidewalk, where really in some bushes in the sidewalk, and I couldn't move my arms or nothing. And I just prayed, "God, please don't let me die here." And I regained strength in my arms and my hands. I pulled myself in the road, and someone was able to see me that drove by and took me to the hospital.
So 19 years old, and they said, you're not going to walk. How did you handle that as a 19-year-old? The baby was born the same night. That must have been, that was really difficult to wrap your mind around.
Well, young, I'm healthy, in good shape, been in the military, not afraid of anything. And all of a sudden, you hear a doctor say that you never be able to walk again, you never be able to do this again, a whole lot of things I would never do. And 19 years, years old it's a hard thing to comprehend in your mind. But by the grace of God and a loving mother, a loving mother, kept me strong and kept me going, and I made it this far.
How much of your drive to keep going was your kids? Did that help you keep going every day?
Yes, it did. My 1-year-old daughter, I was in the hospital for 6 months after I got shot, and I didn't realize that I had a son until like 4 months after that. That I, was able to gain the conscience and realize,
You were kind of out of it for 6 months or so, for 4
about
months?
4 months, yeah.
Wow.
And I was told that I had a son, and it just gave me so much energy and drive to want to just, do better and get out of this, My kids, which they're not kids anymore, they're 28 and 27 years old, 29 and 28, and now I have grandbabies, and with all of that, it just keeps going.
So, talk about then, you said you were very active, healthy. Here is something that they're trying to do to keep people active and healthy and in the outdoors. A variety of people. They were talking about, maybe someone who's had a quadruple bypass that, wants to get out. Or people who are amputees. They're just trying to get people that, normally wouldn't have the opportunity to go along these trails. You said you were out Tuesday and
Yes, over a year ago I had surgery, so I used to roll the trail a lot. Over a year ago I had a surgery, and I haven't been able to get back on the trail like I normally do. And so I met this young man, and he had this idea going and introduced me to it. And for the first time Tuesday, I was on the trail. on one of the bikes, and it was just a beautiful thing. For me, I was able to get back out, and get some exercise in. And I think for anybody that is in my condition or, you know, less hurt, an elderly person that want to get out and experience, look, exercise, not to use too much ability to, really injure themselves, but be able to get out and be comfortable on a bicycle that would, they can ride on the trail and experience, just being outdoors. And instead of being a lot of people that are handicapped and elderly can't get out, a lot of them don't even have anyone to take them out or bring them out to experience something like this. And I think it's just a wonderful thing for the community.
We talk about a lot of don't get out. How does that change, I guess, the emotional and mental thing? You talk about you have a physical thing that's holding you back, but then if you don't have the possibilities or the resources or groups to get you out there physically, I mean, does kind of almost that isolation for a lot of people that are elderly or that don't get out of the house, that's a whole other thing that they have to kind of struggle with. I talk to a lot of people that are maybe elderly or people that are, not physically able to get out, and because they don't have the physical ability to drive around, to walk around, it almost isolates them into their own homes, so they can't communicate with their neighbors, with their community like they used to.
Yes, I think I believe a program like this, that not only that you come out and ride the bikes, but you're able to come out and sit and communicate with other people, and you meet new friends. And I believe that I lost my train. Come on.
I mean, I was thinking about back when you were 19 years old, that frame of mind, and you obviously seem to be a strong man spiritually, and have a family. If you met your 19-year-old self now, or someone who is in your position that just lost some of their physical ability, what would you tell them, and would a program like this kind of help them deal with that?
Well,
we have a lot of veterans now that are coming home that are, left the war physically able, and now they're coming home and they're not, and there are some difficulties dealing with that. What would you tell them?
my main concern, well, I would tell them that the people that I meet a lot that is in wheelchairs or missing a limb or amputee, eye, whatever. I would tell them one thing is to, trust in themselves, believe in themselves, and get some friends around you. Get people around you that love you and care for you, and will be able to speak life into you. Because it's a lonely thing to get hurt and be down, bed confined, and no one there to speak to you or to encourage you, to lift your spirits up. I always tell them, I see people all the time getting in the trying to get in their car. They're in a wheelchair, they're trying to get in their car. I say the number one thing you need to do is build your arms up, build your strength up. Because losing your independence and have to, depend on other people to do this and to do that. If you build your strength, build your arms, and get your muscles up, and that gives you so much independence back. That way you don't have to depend on anyone too much. You always have someone to depend on. Even able-bodied people have someone to depend on at times. So that's what I would encourage them to do.
One other thing that you were talking about a little bit is that kind of the human-powered nature of getting outside. And I know we were sitting here setting up, a big bird flew by, it kind of caught our attention. I mean, a lot of people talk about that. Do you believe in that, kind of the getting outside, getting in God's creation, if you will, has some of its own rejuvenation, healing powers? I don't mean physically healing powers, but, as far as dealing with stress, healing powers, just getting outside seems to help some of that.
Yes, I believe it does. Because you're not in the four corners of a wall. You're not in a room where you only see the television. You're out. You can see, you can tree, you can see nice to get out into. I think it just gives you a sense of that it's more to life. It's more to life. You can see this. It's more to life. It's so much. It's seen when you're out. You know, it's just so much. You know, so much to see. It's just beautiful.
Well said. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I think this program here for me and my wife is all good. I think this program here is something that this community, I believe that there are elderly people in this community that I know that doesn't get out of life and just need an outing. I believe this could be an outing to get them built back up in their spirit and would allow them to feel independence. I believe that, and I think it's a great program.
Do you happen to, while you're in your car, have kids or grandkids or anything, so as you're talking about them, I can show those pictures? So you got a lot. I do. So I think